Also, switching gears, the U.S. economy saw employers add 223,000 jobs in December, coming in hotter than expected. However, a modest slowdown from last month's data, while unemployment slid to 3.5%. Here to discuss, U.S. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. Labor Secretary, always a pleasure to have you here with us on Jobs Day every month. When you see a reading like this, what does that signal to you, and where do we need to continue to do even more work to get people back into the labor force participation?
Yeah, well, as you said, the report is a good report, a strong report. We're seeing areas like construction, leisure, hospitality, education, healthcare, areas that, quite honestly, I wanted to see a little more activity in happen this month, which we saw good gains in those areas. What we're doing now is laying out a plan for 2023 so that we can create better pathways into better paying jobs. The president worked with Congress on lots of legislation, whether it's the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS bill, where we're going to see a lot of manufacturing, a lot of construction, a lot of building, a lot of opportunity for growth. So we need to make sure these folks that are not participating in the workforce understand that there's a pathway into these jobs that get more people into the economy.
You know, I want to pick up on that last point a little bit, Mr. Secretary. It's great to see you, by the way. These measures that have been put in place that maybe will yield more jobs in the years to come, is that going, if there is a labor market slowdown, do you expect some of these measures that have been taken to sort of provide a cushion, provide a floor under the labor market in the next several years?
Well, I think, a lot of the buildings that are going to be built over next year, the next couple of years, these chip manufacturing, they're not going to stop producing microchips right away, but it's going to take a couple of years for the building to get up and running. So it gives us the opportunity to really work to get workforce development, job training, and apprenticeship programs, which we want to do more of, set them up so we can let people explore that there's opportunities in these different areas. I think that that's key. I think that, we looked at the labor participation rate. It ticked up a little bit this month. Certainly there's more room to grow. I was asking what the historic highs have been. I think it's about 67%. We're at about 62% now, 62 plus right now in the labor participation. So we want to get more people back into the economy. But also, one thing that is going to be really important for us is what Congress action, what will they take on immigration? When we talk about immigration, we think of immigration at the border, and immigration is, in my opinion, is one of the biggest threats to our economy. And historically, we've really depended on immigrants either through graduating college and staying here, graduate school staying here, or coming into our country working in these industries. So I think as we think about moving forward, we talk about what the economy is going to look like, we need to make sure that we're filling the jobs that are going to be created off of all the investment the president and Congress is making.
On the flip side, though, Mr. Secretary, is Congress and the administration going to have a tougher sell for immigration reform in a weakening job market? In other words, then does the argument come into play, well, we don't want immigrants coming into what is a tougher job market?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to have, when you think about the tougher job market, I think that we're going to be creating more jobs in this country, and that's what the president wants to do, and create more good-paying jobs. You think about just the manufacturing numbers since the President Biden's taken office. We have not only replaced all the folks that lost their job during the pandemic, but we're 100,000+ over new jobs created in the area of manufacturing. That number can go much higher in that area. You think about the ability for mechanical engineering, electrical engineers in this country, cybersecurity experts, jobs that don't exist today in our country, but we know the forecast down the future we'll need these jobs. There's lots of opportunities for jobs that will be created over the course of the next 2 to 5 years.
Mr. Secretary, recently some gamers at Microsoft were allowed to form a union inside of that company, a win for the union movement, I suppose. Do you think that could be a model for other big tech companies?
No, I think it can be. Microsoft, I believe that they voluntarily acknowledged the workers and they worked the contract out, and I definitely think there can be. And I think there's an opportunity here I think when people think of organized labor, they often think of strike or job action. And on the other side of that, organized labor needs to make sure companies are successful in America as well, not just by respecting their workers, which is what they do predominantly, represent their workers, but also making sure companies continue to remain profitable. And it's a partnership. And I think the Microsoft can be a great example of a partnership between organized labor, workers, and the company.
With the amount of kind of pre-recessionary belt tightening and even cost restructuring that companies are doing right now on the headcount side. Is the White House at all concerned about what you're seeing in terms of the number and the size of companies that are announcing layoffs? I mean, we just heard from this week, Amazon and Salesforce, most notably, two of the larger tech and cloud companies here in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm certainly watching that. We're watching that. I certainly watch that as well, making sure that when you think of an industry, I've said this many times, you want to make sure that we have a diversity of industries in the country, and we don't want these industries to have to lay off because of what's happening in the market or what's happening in the world. And I think that we're going to keep a close eye on that. I mean, there's been rumors for the last few months about layoffs at Amazon and some of these other companies in the tech sector. We've seen some of them now this particular month, and we got to keep monitor that, see if it's going to be short-term or long-term.
To bring it back around to this morning's jobs report, when you look at the report altogether, does it reassure you to any extent that we are indeed going to have a soft landing or even avoid a recession in the United States?
I mean, it's hard to say that, but I think that when you look at the last couple of years, the first 2 years of President Biden's administration, and bringing back the jobs that were lost, laying down good, strong economic policy, dealing with tackling rising gas prices, which we dealt with a few months ago, dealing with inflation. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but I think that when you look at this report, I feel confident that we're able to add a good, solid jobs number of people back to the economy. We'll be able to see good, strong growth when it comes to year-over-year wages. And then on the other side of the coin, we're starting to see some of the inflationary pressures go down. Certainly, we want to bring those pressures down even more because the people, American people, feel at the kitchen table every single day. So our work isn't done yet. We still have more work to do there to bring those wages down. I mean, not those wages, excuse me, those inflationary pressures down.
U.S. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh, always good to see you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.